website at henryshomehorsesanctuary.org or check out our Facebook at Henry's Home Horse and Human Sanctuary for more information.
Did you know there are more than 790 abused and neglected children currently in foster care in Montgomery County? Will you help make a difference? I'm Allie Stevens with Casa Child Advocates of Montgomery County. We train and support volunteers to be the voice of children in the foster care system. Kids are removed from their home because of abuse and neglect, and we need volunteers just like you to advocate for these children. To learn more about becoming an advocate, please visit CasaSpeaksForKids.com. That's CasaSpeaksForKids.com.
A Lone Star Community Radio is Montgomery County's radio station with talk, music, weather, and traffic for Montgomery County. Have a question or comment about one of our shows? Want to know how to reach a host? Just contact the station at irlonestar.com or call in and leave a message at 936-647-3776. Get involved with your community with Lone Star Community Radio. A Lone Star Community Radio is looking for those who are interested in hosting their own talk show with monthly and weekly slots available on Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, and on irlonestar.com. Start your own podcast, create your first YouTube channel, and be on TV. Contact Lone Star Community Radio online at irlonestar.com or call the station message line at 936-647-3776 to take your first step into the radio world.
Does volunteering at a nonprofit horse sanctuary sound wonderful? Or are you a veteran or a veteran spouse and think trying a peer group session through a local Horses and Heroes equine program might be worth trying? Henry's Home Horse and Human Sanctuary, located in Grand Central Park by appointment only, is home to a growing number of rescued and donated horses. Visit our website at henryshomehorsesanctuary.org or check out our Facebook at Henry's Home Horse and Human Sanctuary for more information.
Thank you for listening to Lone Star Community Radio. This program was broadcasted and recorded live from the LSCR studios in downtown Conroe, Texas. Lone Star Community Radio is supported by listeners like you. Donate and sponsor today. For more information on getting involved with Lone Star Community Radio, contact us at lscrstudios@gmail.com or visit us online at www.irlonestar.com.
You are listening to Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCZW LP Conroe and 106.1 KZCC LP Conroe, and worldwide on irlonestar.com.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and you're listening to the Weekly Business Hour. I'm Rick Schissler. I'm the host of the program. I'm also a Silver Fox advisor and the founder of OneBestConsult.com. First off today, I want to thank you for taking time to listen to this program, whether you're listening live on Conroe FM 104.5 or 106.1, or later on and listen to our video podcast that are available in many places, in particular here at the station, Lone Star Community Radio. Just go to their website, irlonestar.com, and you'll see a drop-down. Just click on it for the morning shows. You can click on the weekly business hours, and our shows going back quite a while are there. You click on the one you want to listen to, and that's a very easy way to do it. Conroe, Texas, that's where we're coming from today, as always. One of the fastest growing cities in America. It's been number one, then number two, and it kind of goes back and forth. All I know is for us that live in this area, live in Montgomery County, Conroe being our county seat, it is booming. Everywhere, booming. People are attracted to this area because of opportunity, in my opinion. Lots of jobs, lots of construction, lots of good things going on, because we still have been, in my opinion, hanging on to the small town feel. And I read a story this past weekend about a city, this being Austin, which I have familiarity, that I spent some time there as a student many years ago. And the claim is Austin has lost its small town feel. But it's a much, much larger city at this point. But people are starting to leave Austin because they feel that it has lost that feel. So here's to Conroe. Don't lose your small town feel. A quick thought as we start today about speed. What does speed mean in your business? Some people think about it, some people don't. I get that. I have conversations with business owners in my role as a Silver Fox advisor, working with them, trying to help them, mentor them. And speed is an important element, but it's one that oftentimes gets forgotten about. And what am I talking about? Well, something as simple as answering the phone. Do the phones in your business just ring and ring and ring and ring? Or as they would say, ring off the wall, but people are slow to answer. I worked in a business, my first job, we were required to answer by the third ring. No questions. And if a supervisor manager was around and you didn't do that, you heard about it. And so it became ingrained in all of us because we were responding to the customer. This wasn't the owner or the managers or the supervisors. This was a response to the customers. You're processing, shipping, and delivering an order if you ship products out. The speed to get it there. I mean, next day, right? Amazon's all over that. Well, even though your business may not guarantee next day, that is in the back of many, many people's mind. Again, I don't know that you have to deliver it next day, but people want it delivered when you say. So you need to be sure you got the right speed on your process and that people are following through, particularly the delivery people. You choose to use FedEx, UPS, the Postal Service, whoever it is. Also, and a very important one, and this is one that's really important to me in my role as a consumer, is when a mistake gets made, and I know as a business person who's owned multiple businesses, we're going to make mistakes. But the speed at which we respond to those mistakes, the speed that we communicate, the speed that we make it right, whatever that looks like in your business. Now, I'm not necessarily advocating you do everything in the world. You've got to do what works for your business in a response. But if you have the speed, oftentimes what you do is not as important, and the customer many times won't be as critical. I've experienced that time and again. I was taught that concept, believe it or not, by my grandfather, who started the family business, and it was all about responding to people and making them indirectly think that something was being done. But you got to have that speed to make it work. And finally, service. If you're a service company particularly, show up when you say you're going to show up. And if you have a flat tire and you can't be on time, communicate to the customer. Have a process or a system built in. Texting, email, telephone. It gets a little complicated because there's so many choices, but communicate. The idea is the speed in which you let that customer know you might be late. The fact that you show up on time shows the customer, that you honor speed in your business. I will be there when I say I'm going to be there. Doesn't mean you're going to be there the next hour, though I always enjoy reading these advertisings for people that say, well, ships in the next hour, 1 hour service, and on and on and on, because that's when you want to start that stopwatch, right, and see if they make it. But if you advertise it, you need to honor it. The point is, honor the speed of your business in all aspects. Make sure you don't overpromise, but make sure you deliver on your promises. This will make your business stand out because way too many businesses really don't respect speed. Well, the Weekly Business Hour is where Montgomery County and businesses now throughout the world come to talk about the latest in business news, ideas to improve your business, and be part of conversations that can make a real difference in your business. And we're going to have one of those conversations in just a moment. But before we do, I want to remind you that this show is available live also. Besides Conroe FM, it's available on YouTube and Facebook. So just go to either one of those available networks, if you will. Look for the Weekly Business Hour, and you can click on the button, and you can listen as well as watch the program. So our program is video. You can watch us talking and responding and showing products. It's a good way to be a part of this show. And finally, I want to remind you that if you've got a comment about the show, maybe a constructive criticism, or if you have a question about your own business, please send me an email. As the regular listeners know, we from time to time will go to the mailbag, as we call it, pull out a question that someone has about their business, some particular challenge, and we'll talk about it on the air and hopefully give some constructive thoughts or ideas about how to meet that challenge and how to succeed. So please, simple, drop me an email. It's Rick, R-I-C-K, at irlonestar.com. Rick at irlonestar.com. Well, now we're to the real nuts and bolts, the heart of our show, and that's to start the conversation. And today I think we have someone that is going to have a very different, unique conversation, but kind of like speed, it's an important conversation for everyone to be aware of. And I take great pleasure in introducing you to Elizabeth Islas. Islas. Boy, maybe I should have stuck with Hernandez. Islas.
It's okay.
I'm world famous for that, by the way, of twisting things around. But she is the president and founder of Credito Texas, which is a credit, building your credit, fixing credit, I assume, things like that. But the key, in my mind, when I look at what Elizabeth does and when I hear her present what she does, it's about education. As individuals, as businesses, we need to be aware of our credit. We all kind of talk about credit in general on the surface, but it's really building our credit score, the score of our business. It can make a huge difference to us as far as what we have to spend, particularly when we borrow money. Well, Elizabeth, thank you for coming to the show. I apologize for mispronouncing the name, even though I promised you I wouldn't. Maybe I need to switch to Hernandez, that way I won't get lost in my little foggy brain up here. But you've got a unique background. And I'd like you to tell your story, if you would, share it with us and our audience about how you came to found this business and serve as its president today, please.
Of course. Thank you so much, and thank you for having me here. I used to work for IBM for 13 years. So I'm from Mexico, and I came here with my family. I have 2 kids, and I struggled getting where to live. Getting a car, a loan to buy a car, it was so complicated. So I was thinking about how people struggle building credit and how it's not easy to get a loan or to borrow money to get a better life. So I decided to stay here, to live here with my family. I love Conroe. I love Texas. It's a really, really nice place to live for my kids also. So I decided to certificate myself as a credit consultant, to register a company, to really educate and help people to build credit and to maintain that credit and get a better results of the money that they earn working hard.
Well, as I mentioned, it's obviously an important thing. Some people may not realize that the interest rate that they pay, say on something as simple as a car loan, is greatly impacted by their credit score. Those who've gotten a loan may recognize it. And right now, in the current market, credit interest rates are so high relative to what they've been for years, then you'd stack on top of that higher rates when you don't have good credit. Now, you mentioned you became certified.
Yes,
I
sir.
didn't realize that there was a requirement. Is that a state requirement?
No. For the state, you have to be registered as a credit company.
Okay.
But it's like a must, I think, if you are going to do this the right way, is to certify yourself as a credit consultant, as a credit score consultant.
Okay. So you actually received some direct education
Yes, sir.
and passed some kind of exam or whatever? That's
Yes.
very interesting. I would suspect, and I could be wrong, I hope I am wrong, that a lot of people that hold themselves out as credit consultants or will help you fix your credit, they don't have that certification or education.
Maybe not all the people do that.
Yeah, I have a sense of that. So that's a wonderful accomplishment. Plus, in my mind, it puts you at the top of the list
Thank you.
of people that I would want to consult with. So you've been in this country for how long?
About 24 months.
Okay, so you're 2 years into a new business. And how is it being a business owner and president of your company?
It's been complicated. It's been really a challenge because even though that I have been working too hard for this other company that I love and that what I learned about finances and about customer service, it was because of that company. But it has been hard because it's a new country. It's different things here and the language because English is my second language. So it's been hard also to get myself or my family established because at the beginning we had to walk to the supermarket because we couldn't afford to buy a car, and many people didn't want to rent a home for us because we hadn't any credit history. So it's been complicated, but I'm so happy because it has been so rewarding knowing people that can afford a home because of our help. So it's been a really nice and complicated or hard work, but I really like it.
You know, it's interesting. I always have, again, some admiration for people that choose to be in a business owner, that they've actually walked the walk, talked the talk. In other words, had that experience and saw in that experience, as you've related to us today, an opportunity to start a business and provide a service, a valuable service. And like every client you work with, you have a sense to some degree of what they need and what's happening. And then in turn, my observation is you feel a bit of joy or reward for being able to provide your service and help them out.
I love it. I'm always like so excited to know a new friend with a new customer that I have because they really rely on us. So it's a huge responsibility, and I love them to really trust on me and achieve that goals that they have.
Well, I congratulate you. I happen to believe that passion for one's business is an important element. And sometimes people have too much passion and not other characteristics they need to succeed, but it's always wonderful to feel that passion. And I feel that when you talk about your business, I think that's an important element. Well, ladies and gentlemen, believe it or not, Elizabeth, we're to our first break today. So we're going to take a couple minutes, and our sponsors and the program and the station here are going to talk with you. And when we come back, we're going to dig into some of what I call the nitty-gritty of credit and credit scores and why it's so important that you as an individual pay attention to this and in your business as well. It pays off. There's no doubt in my mind. Work with too many people that we've touched on this, and it made a huge difference. So please stay with us. We'll be right back with you.
Don't forget to download the Lone Star Community Radio app from your Google Play or Apple Store. Bring Montgomery County's community radio with you anywhere with your smartphone or tablet. If you are in the Conroe area, tune in on FM. That's Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1. If you are on the computer, bookmark irlonestar.com as your internet radio station. A Lone Star Community Radio, broadcasting 24/7 from the heart of downtown Conroe, Texas.
We have the safest food supply in the world. Strict laws and regulations restrict the usage of hormones, antibiotics, and pesticides within our food supply. Production agriculture practices and technologies such as the use of GMOs, which is not any more or less risky than conventional crop production, has allowed American farmers to produce more food on less acres in environmentally sound ways. Find out more online at pathtotheplate.tamu.edu. We are Texas A&M AgriLife Extension, helping Texans make lives better.
Hey y'all, it's DJ Mike from Dance Time in Texas. Join me Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. as I count down the top 10 Texas Red Dirt songs that are packing the dance floor. I'll be featuring local artists and the story behind the hits, shows in the area, as well as new songs that make you want to dance. It's Dance Time in Texas with DJ Mike on Lone Star Community Radio, 104.5 KCZW and 106.1 KZCC, Conroe, Texas, or online, irlonestar.com.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the Weekly Business Hour. I'm Rick Schissler. I'm your host. Thank you for staying with us. And we're in the middle of a wonderful discussion, getting ready to get into the nitty-gritty with Elizabeth Hernandez. I got that one out right,
Yes,
didn't
it was great.
I should have listened to you in the beginning. You give good advice. I'm going to say that, right? So we're going to talk about credit, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk about how important it is to you, an individual, which carries over to your business, and some of the nitty-gritty that I suspect that many of us are not aware. So, Elizabeth, let's start out. What is credit and why is it important? Most people think they know, but I bet we learned something.
Yes, thank you so much. So credit enables people to borrow money for goods or services, and they promise to pay off later. And the thing is that creditors issue credit to people based on the risk of not paying a debt. So that risk is calculated with the credit score or credit report. That's how the creditors should know if they can lend you money or not.
And that is the basics of credit and the fact
Yes.
that you have it. Credit report, credit score. I mean, I suspect that a lot of people, depending on their generation, if you will, have never checked their credit score and
Yes.
credit report. Talk to us about that a little bit.
Sure. So the credit score is calculated with 5 categories. It's not only to pay on time or to have a credit card. Many people, it's like, I'm going to issue a credit card to get credit. So it is 5 categories that consider or gather information from the credit report. And those are payment history, the amounts you owed with the credit cards or loans, the length of credit history that you have, credit mix. So it is important to have credit cards and loans to show creditors that you know how to manage different kinds of or different types of debt. And also new credit. So that is so important not to apply for credit cards that you don't really need or you don't have the intention to build credit with that account.
You know, I ran into a couple credit situations. I'll ask you your advice or observations. This is personal, which is interesting. My wife and I have been married over 40 years. She really has no credit, right? I mean, I have the credit because my name, and I say that tongue in cheek, she actually does have a little credit. But I know when my father passed, my mother had no credit because they were married 60 some years and it just nothing in her name. What do you do about that?
I can help people to build credit. So in order to have a valid FICO score, you need to have at least one account for 6 months or more. It could be a credit card, a loan, or a rent payment. But my recommendation is to build credit with a secure credit card, and I'm always teaching people how to manage that credit card.
Now, my wife uses credit cards, no doubt
I
about
know.
that, right? But no, it's an interesting thing, and obviously, I mean, you reach a point you don't owe any money as you should when you get older, but you still need a credit score, I believe, just for emergency that may or may not, hopefully never happen. Another scenario was that I was trying to check my credit score, something I've really rarely ever done in my life, and this was recently. And I get back my free credit report, right? The one we all get or have access to once a year.
Yes.
And it has stuff on it for my father because we share a name, okay? And it said I was dead because he'd passed away. And I read that and I said, how would I even have, I'm dead? So, and I was getting insurance is what it was on a second home. So I was using a different company I'd never used. And so they said, well, your credit report is going to cause us to raise your rates on your insurance. And I'm saying, why would that be? Well, I found all this stuff on there, none of which was, I'm not dead, and I can see. And so what do people do with that? That I've read stories, horror stories,
Yes.
where somebody's credit report gets wrong, and that happens, as it did to me, because
Yes.
all of that had nothing to do with me. What do you do to fix it?
Yes, we can dispute on behalf of our customers directly to the 3 bureaus in order to correct that information, to fix that information. So it's very common. Also, there are like people who stole the identity with the social security number, that it's too common also. Or there are mistakes because maybe people have typos when they fill the name or the social security number. So all of that can be fixed with a letter that disputes directly to the three bureaus.
Well, tell me, how do I convince somebody that I'm not dead?
Yes, you can send your information. You can.
But I'm not. How do I prove that, right? There's no certificate.
But with the letter, it's enough to. Right. You always have the right to send that letter and tell the three bureaus that's obviously a mistake.
Yeah, it obviously is. But I was curious. I didn't follow up on it at this point, but I will. I just feel I like clean records, so. It was really a surprise thing, but I said, how am I going to prove that
It's common. I have heard of that before.
Really?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll see. I really just have heard such horror stories of getting things
changed.
Yes,
or maybe you can have
fixed.
Accounts or loans that you don't really owe.
Right.
It's very common. Or there are many other mistakes, like derogatory accounts that you don't even have, collections that you don't have. So there are many different errors that you always have to fix by disputing directly to the three bureaus.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, I never would have known it unless I bought insurance in a rural county. It was really interesting and eye-opening to me. Well, credit scores, how are they calculated? I mean, it's always kind of a mystery to me. You get this score, and they're doing millions of them, so you say, well, they've got to have an algorithm or some formula, and take the mystery out of credit scores.
Yes, basically it is like an algorithm that takes into consideration these five main factors. That is information gathered from the credit report. So you have to, the most percentage of that factors is the payment history, the most important thing. So you don't have to skip any bills payment. And the other fact is the amounts you owe. So it's very important to reduce the amounts you owe to the credit cards, because it is another big percentage. And the other ones are the length of credit history. So you have to have a credit card or a loan for a long time. So the longer that you have an account, the better for your score. And also new credit, not applying to too many cards each month, because that new credit or increase hurt your credit score. And also the credit mix. So I always recommend to have a healthy mix of credit cards and loans, so you can show that you are responsible using your debt.
I have to ask, and I'm sure this question comes up all the time. I have a credit card, for an example, and this I went through this. I don't know if I did it right or wrong. It's years ago. So I got rid of credit cards. I had several that I had just because in those days, like in colleges, they would send students out to get you a new credit card. And I never used them in my case. And I said, I don't want that liability of that card just laying around somewhere on a desk. So I went about just canceling cards. But I read that, well, that can be the wrong thing to do. Well, I wasn't using the card, hadn't used it for a long time. What do I need to do?
Yes, I recommend
just cut it up and throw it away and ignore it?
No, I recommend not to close that account. Try to do that because it has already a credit history, and even if you close and you remain with the newer cards, the average of the credit history is going to be lower. So I recommend not to close that and only apply for the ones that you really need. It's not healthy also to have a lot of credit cards. I recommend to have a few, 2 or 3 credit cards, just to have the control of how much you spend and when you have to pay.
Well, it's funny, you told me, I guess in one case I did the right thing. I just cut the card up because I was afraid of somebody, getting it, and just threw it away. And they never sent me a new card ever.
No.
But the account was never closed. I just cut the card up and threw it away. So I guess the account's still there. Again, I haven't checked a credit report to see. but-
Sometimes if you do not use the card for a long time,
Right.
the creditor close your account. So
Right. I'm sure that's what happened
It's
eventually.
always healthy to check out in the credit report because sometimes it can show any charge that you don't even have, so you can dispute also that. So you have to
Well-
make sure that it remains with zero balance.
Well, I think that's a main piece of advice. People should, and I'm the derelict, even though I don't use credit at this point in my life. As far as paying off, I do use a credit card, but then pay it each month. But the fact that we do need to keep an eye on our credit report, like I said, it impacted me for insurance premium, and I never even
Yes.
thought about it. Right, just never worried about it. But people need to check it every.
Yes.
How often do you recommend the average person checking their credit?
At least once a year. But if you are planning to buy a home in the next months or year, I recommend to do it once in a quarter.
Right.
So you can be aware of any change or anything to be sure that you have the higher credit score for better loan conditions.
Right. And again, I got to emphasize that because people miss this, but you don't have the best credit or you're not in, and we'll talk for in a minute about the ranges that are, where you want to be, but you pay more interest, you pay more fees, you pay, some of it's fine print, but if you don't have the best credit that you should have or that you deserve, you'll end up paying more when you take out a loan. There's no doubt. I've seen it. I've had business people bring me stuff, and I say, "What are you paying double digits for interest? Why? The market is low signal." And then as I dug into it, I found,
Yes.
some of it was not their fault per se, but check that credit report, and especially like you say, if you're getting ready, particularly for a mortgage,
Yes.
which is a big loan, the biggest that most take out. Improving our credit scores. You've mentioned healthy balance, combination of credit cards, loans. Anything else that we need to understand as part of a strategy to maintain or achieve the highest credit that we can?
Yes, this is important to know that to improve your credit score really takes time and patience. Sometimes people want the healthy credit score in about one day, but it takes also responsibility. So yes, as you said, so paying on time and taking care of the balances. So, and one another thing is to read carefully the terms and conditions of each credit card before you apply. That's very important because you have to be aware of the interest rates and all the conditions that they have, so you can use it in the best way possible.
Now, when you use a credit card, you don't necessarily need to carry a balance, do you, to develop credit?
It is important because
So you want to carry a balance?
yes, because otherwise you cannot have a payment history. You can only have like in good standing card, but you have to be at least $10, $5, anything, and you have to demonstrate that you pay that on time to have that payment history.
So you don't necessarily have to carry a big balance because credit cards carry very healthy interest rates.
Yes. So
And in the challenge of developing a credit history, what I'm hearing you say is you need to consider paying out your credit card, even
Pay
just
it off.
small amounts, smaller
Yes.
amounts, less interest. That's where I'm going with that. So people don't say, well, I'm going to go run up a $5,000 balance on my credit card and then pay it out slowly,
Yeah, no.
because that's very expensive.
yes, you have to pay it off each month, and you have to use it from 10 to 30% of the credit limit that you have, just to have a healthy balance, and also to pay it off. Because if you just pay the minimum, with the difference you are going to pay interest, and it's a big difference. Maybe you will never know when you will finish. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, the rest of your life, it's like a lifetime payment.
Yes.
I've seen that happen. It's amazing, and people seem not to be aware that that's what they're doing.
Yes, that the credit card, it's not like money for free. It's that a money that you can use, and if you have an emergency, you can use it. but be aware that you have to pay it off before or reduce the balance before the closing date. That's an important thing, because sometimes you have like a budget and you need to spend more than the 30%. So it's okay. It's okay if you have to spend that money, but you have to pay it off before the closing date so you can ensure it's up to 30% to that closing date.
I hear what you're saying, but it's not. So, in summary, it's a good thing on one hand to have a credit balance
Yes.
that you're paying on each month, paying down, not just carrying the minimum.
Yes.
You need that to establish credit. But my recommendation, anybody that would do that or needs to do that, keep that balance low.
Yes.
$100, $50, whatever. So try to do that.
Yes.
And I've seen people in an emergency, and I always admire them, where they had to use their card. Say they had a emergency room visit and they needed $1,000 or whatever, and then they immediately set up a plan for themselves to pay $100, $200 a month down on that balance.
Yes.
So that within a year or whatever their prescribed time. So they didn't let it just run
Yes.
and not think about it. So,
And the good thing is, whenever you have the money, you should pay that. You don't have to wait until the next closing and payment dates. Whenever you have the money, because interest rates are calculated each day.
Right.
So every day you are getting a higher
That's a good
amount.
point.
Yes.
yeah, don't hesitate, don't wait. And you, credit cards, unlike money, are kind of out of sight, out of mind. It's hard to keep track of what you're spending, but also what you're paying. I mean,
Yes.
unless you pay attention and are mindful. And that's my experience,
Yes.
particularly in working with people. What else do we need to know about credit?
Okay, what I want to people know, it's to prevent debt consolidation. Why? Because many people think like, I want to pay, just have to pay one account, or it's easier to pay just to one account or to one bank. But sometimes there are debt consolidation programs that tell you not to pay the credit cards. So in order to have them in a derogatory status, so they can negotiate a better payment plans or anything. But that hurt your credit score. And it is going to remain in your credit report that you have been done that. You didn't pay, you try to establish a different repayment plan. So that hurts also the ability to get a new loan afterwards. So it's so important to do a responsible manage of your credit cards on your loans. And if you have any doubt of any news that you hear, it's to go with a person that really knows how to manage and how to help you. Not try to do everything that you think you understand about having a healthy credit.
Right. I've got to believe that credit scores, credit cards, all that stuff is so open to scammers and people, and then the people get, taken by it.
Yes.
And it could impact for 5-10 years your ability to have the things you'd like to buy personally, or to take care of your family, or it just could have a big impact. So you got to be
Yes.
careful.
Yes,
A lot of
there's
fraud, I
always a
suspect.
second chance. So even if you have any hardship, or you have also have this debt consolidation program, there's always a second chance, but you have to be aware of the consequences and to start all over again.
Yeah, you've got to be mindful with a credit card,
Yes.
and that's why so many people avoid them, because they're afraid.
Yes,
or like
I
me,
know.
I cut them up because I was afraid that
Yes.
somebody might steal it, or use it, or use the number, or whatever.
Yes.
So, and that perhaps wasn't the best decision, but it got to a point. Elizabeth, I can't thank you enough for coming in today,
you.
and if nothing else, educating us. And would you mind sharing your contact information with our listeners of how they can get in touch with you?
Yes, sir. They can call me directly to my phone number. It's 346-842-1651. 346-842-1651. I try always to respond or text message or call them back if I was busy. And also we are on social media, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook as Credito Texas. And they can also email me at elizabeth@creditotexas.com.
Well, that's great. There's no reason, ladies and gentlemen, you can't find Elizabeth, let me tell you. She's out there and got a lot of ways to contact her. Well, again, thank you, Elizabeth, for joining us today. And before we close the first half of our show, I want to make you aware of what's coming up on the second half. The question of the day is entitled, what are some steps I can take now to strengthen my business ahead of that downturn that never seems to come, but we hear it's coming, but some basic steps you can take. And our One Best Consult tip of the week is, don't forget about those challenges that no one is talking about to your small business in 2023. So please stay with us, and we'll be right back with you.
A Lone Star Community Radio is looking for those who are interested in hosting their own talk show, with monthly and weekly slots available on Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, and on irlonestar.com. Start your own podcast, create your first YouTube channel, and be on TV. Contact Lone Star Community Radio online at irlonestar.com or call the station message line at 936-647-3776 to take your first step into the radio world.
Every Friday, tune into Texas Ticket on Conroe's 104.5 and 106.1 FM with Armando Nino of Gold Lake Conroe, focusing on Montgomery County area events and places. Get a feel of the Texas spirit at the event, paired with guest and vendor interviews, event coverage, and ticket giveaways, and so much more. Join us Fridays and punch your Texas ticket. For more information on the show, visit irlonestar.com/Texas Ticket.
Statistics show that 1 out of every 6 Texans struggles with food insecurity and hunger. And many people don't eat enough fruits and vegetables every day. The Better Living for Texans program is here to help you learn how to make healthy menu choices, save money at the grocery store, prepare quick and delicious meals, get more good nutrition in your day, and get more physical activity. Classes are fun, friendly, interactive, and free, and taught in English and Spanish. We are Texas A&M AgriLife Extension, helping Texans make their lives better.
Want to check out the fastest growing sport in the world? It's right here in Conroe, Texas, and it's roller derby. Conroe Roller Derby is a nonprofit recreational league of women and men who want you to come and check out the fast-paced, hard-hitting game of roller derby. The Conroe Cutthroats practice at Rainbow Roller Rink on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. You can find our game schedule and more information on our website, www.conroerollerderby.com.
Lone Star Community Radio is looking for those who are interested in hosting their own talk show, with monthly and weekly slots available in Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, and on irlonestar.com. Start your own podcast, create your first YouTube channel, and be on TV. Contact Lone Star Community Radio online at irlonestar.com or call the station message line at 936-647-3776 to take your first step into the radio world.
Path to the Plate is a research-based education program that helps consumers understand how their food choices impact their health by making the connection to agriculture. Learning about how food is grown and produced, and how consumers can make better food choices for themselves and their families, Path to the Plate is all about dispelling myths and misconceptions. Find out more online at pathtotheplate.tamu.edu. We are Texas A&M AgriLife Extension, helping Texans make their lives better.
Lone Star Community Radio is looking for those who are interested in hosting their own talk show, with monthly and weekly slots available on Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, and on irlonestar.com. Start your own podcast, create your first YouTube channel, and be on TV. Contact Lone Star Community Radio online at irlonestar.com or call the station message line at 936-647-3776.
Listen in Mondays at noon to hear Conroe news from local nonprofits, businesses, upcoming events, Conroe Park events, news stories, and information that matters to you with your host, Margie Taylor of Taylorized PR. For more information about being a guest, visit irlonestar.com/Conroe Culture.
An estimated 1 in 10 births will result in a neonatal intensive care stay, also known as the NICU. Overnight, a family can find themselves and their newborn baby in a critical situation. The Mila Foundation financially and spiritually assists families in need. If you would like to volunteer or become a monthly sponsor, please visit us at www.themilafoundation.org. Again, that's www.themilafoundation.org, because every life matters.
A Lone Star Community Radio is Montgomery County's radio station with talk, music, weather, and traffic for Montgomery County. Have a question or comment about one of our shows? Want to know how to reach a host? Just contact the station at irlonestar.com or call in and leave a message at 936-647-3776. Get involved with your community with Lone Star Community Radio.
Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to the Weekly Business Hour. I'm Rick Schissler. I'm your host. I hope you enjoyed our guest, Elizabeth Hernandez. A lot of information, education, and in her case, a very deep passion for helping people help your business with credit, making sure you have the best credit you can, because that lowers cost of interest, cost of insurance, business insurance premiums, personal insurance premiums. There's a lot of hidden costs related to not having the best credit that you can have. Before we get started, though, I want to remind you that a podcast, video cast of the program will be posted later this week, typically on Wednesday. So if you missed something, or if you'd like to share what you heard with others, a link will be available. You simply need to go to YouTube, Facebook, to the Weekly Business Hour page, and you'll find it there. This week's show posted, along with a number of past weeks as well. So please use that resource. And remember, your business, you're here in the Montgomery County area, Conroe area, you too can sponsor the Weekly Business Hour. Just send me an email at rick@irlonestar.com, and I'll drop you some information back. And it's a very simple process. The radio station's a nonprofit, so it depends on its sponsors in order to do business and provide the programming it does. So please think about that. Just drop me an email at rick, R-I-C-K, at irlonestar.com. Well, let's start with the question of the day. Now, I'm just going to take a couple minutes on this, but it keeps coming at me, and I understand it. Next to where can I find good employees is the second most popular topic, if you will, or question that I get as a Silver Fox advisor when I'm out working with businesses, small businesses in the area of Montgomery County and Conroe. What do I do? What can I do? What do I need to check to make sure when the recession hits, regardless of how good or bad it is, what do I do? Well, first of all, make sure your payments, your accounts payable, stretch those payments out. These are some basic things, and this is one of the most basic. Good businesses will contact vendors, your larger vendors, that you have larger amounts that you owe, and say, gosh, we're struggling, business has slowed down, anticipated it'll come back when this recession passes us. Can we make payment on time at 45 days, 60 days, 90 days? And you'll be surprised, particularly if you're a good customer, what can happen. Real estate, take a look at your real estate. If you lease, if you own, make sure it's what you need. If you have extra space that's usable, then sublease it. Consider that. Something you probably didn't want to mess with. But make sure your real estate, your cost of operating your business, your utilities, the cost of the location, taxes, get the smallest footprint that works for your business. And there are a number of ways you can tackle that and tighten that cost if they need to be tightened. In the line of credit, we've talked about that several times this year, is line up some backup. Pay for a line of credit, 1% or whatever your bank charges, as long as it's reasonable to you. It's there for emergencies. I mean, if you're using it for accounts receivable now, you're very familiar with it. But I know a lot of well-run small businesses that have a line of credit available if they need it. Some businesses use it every year seasonally. They have ups and downs based on the seasons. But every business should have a backup financial avenue that they can call on, that they can go down and get money when they have to have it. This can threaten your business, the lack of cash flow. Don't put that strain on yourself or your business. Make sure you have a line of credit or some other resource in case you need it, and let's hope you don't need it. And then finally, when things do slow down for your business, and I'm hearing from some business owners it's already started, don't cut your marketing, please. People cut advertising, they cut marketing. The people that are going to win their way through a recession, a slowdown, are the ones that keep marketing, that keep advertising, because they're going to get the business that their competitors who cut their marketing and cut their advertising are going to lose. So keep your marketing going. It is not a variable expense that you need to just cut. So many businesses, it's in the top 5 or top 3 of expenses they go to cut when they hit a bump in the road. Please don't let that be your business. Okay, we've got a few minutes left, and I want to touch on our One Best Consult tip of the week. Small business challenges owners are facing in 2023, the ones that nobody's talking about. And we may only get through 1 or 2 of these, but and we'll come back to it next time we're on the air live. But the first is understanding broader economic trends. That's a challenge for probably 95+% of the small business owners, because they really don't have an interest in tracking economics and how it impacts their business. And when you get into one of those articles that's written by an economist, sometimes it's like, a biology article or science article of how to cure cancer. And I get it. Your head goes twirling. But you can find resources that are readable for you and that will give you information, and be aware. And there are opinions. There's a for and against. This is that black and white, obviously differences. I'm not asking you to become a decider of economics, but you need to understand in general what's going on. We've been in a recession now, according to some people, for almost a year. Others say we're not even in one. And, the politics and all. But you need to be aware. Right now, interest rates have gone up. Business is slowing down in many places, many industries, and understand that what will happen if this comes home to your business. And so 63%, I read it the other day, of business owners say they've changed up their supply chain in the last 6 months. This was last year. Because of shortages. And you and I both know there's shortages out there, so you got to adjust. It's an important issue. Keep an eye on the economy. Again, you don't need to become an expert, but you need to be able to talk about it and deal with it as it comes your way. Well, that's about all the time we have today. I'll pick that topic up, I promise you, in a couple weeks, and we'll finish out, because I think it's important that we all get a chance to understand some of those challenges that we may not even be aware of. I want to thank again Elizabeth Hernandez for joining us today. Hopefully her points of view and conversation on credit will help you reduce your cost, and that way increase your business, your revenue, and profitability. Put a note on your calendar. Next week we're going to be here at 11 o'clock on Monday, as we always are, for the weekly business hour. And until next week, I encourage you, stay engaged, and always keep a focus on what counts in your business. Thanks.